So I think it's really important that President Trump put both Iran and Israel on blast. So he didn't, praise God, go bomb Israel. And also, praise God, the targeted nature of the bombings that President Trump okayed and the military carried out, that was a brilliant, brilliant move. And look, I was out. I didn't want us in this war. I don't want nation building. I am so tired of seeing our troops' lives put at risk and sacrificed for what I accidentally called the mental East the other day. By the way, I saw in YouTube comments that Ileana Maria is now calling it mental East. Thank you, Ileana. That's cool. I picked up and it was a mistake. So President Trump did put both countries on blast, and I think this is important because I think it says something really, really important about President Trump.
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too. Are you questioning if Israel is committed? Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
So, not a big fan of the profanity. I understand that President Trump speaking from the heart, and that's the point to me. That is not a guy who is, okay, war. That is a guy who wants this to stop. You could say it's because it could put him in, he's been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize by Pakistan. Or no, was it India? No, it's Pakistan. Maybe he wants another nomination. President Trump does have an ego. We should recognize that. But that's a man who does not want to drop more bombs. Does that seem unapparent to everyone else? And I think it's a very positive sign that he's willing to put Israel on blast. Yes, they're an ally. And that doesn't mean they get to run our foreign policy. That doesn't mean that we're going to back every move. It means that the President of the United States has put our country into this now directly at war. Well, we haven't declared it, but we have been in a state of war for a little while with the bombings with Iran. That puts us at enormous risk. So he's right to say, yep, I'm not backing Israel with this. This has been a long time coming. And if you look at the history of Iran, do you remember when our soldiers were taken captive, our sailors? And there was a picture that a lot of people found very, very humiliating of them kneeling down on their boat, hands on their heads, because our Navy can destroy the Iranian Navy about 40,000 times over in a period of a couple of minutes if we decide to do that. The Navy punished sailors who were detained by Iran. Remember this? Now, the rumor at the time was they were forced to surrender, that they didn't want to do that they had strayed into these waters. There was a lot of discussion of this, that this was a move by a liberal administration to just appease Iran. There's been a lot of appeasing. This is the way this was reported on TV.
Iranian news agency, and it shows our American sailors being turned over to American authorities. These are the 10 Navy sailors whose boat drifted into Iranian waters, supposedly illegal waters. The Iranians took them into custody and held them overnight for nearly a day. You can see the sailors sitting there, and you can see the Iranians, I would suppose, looking at these Americans' passports.
No. I do not believe that sailors in areas like that where they put themselves at risk carry their passports. They weren't seeking entry into Iran. Dog tags, yes. Passports, probably not. Maybe they were sent over there. So as President Trump has held Iran to nearly ultimate account with these bombs, because the message is pretty clear to Iran, if you continue down this path, what we just dropped on your nuclear facilities, we could drop on your cities and we could end your cities. And we don't want to do that. The president in that clip shows he doesn't want to do that. But there are people in our country who seem to want to see the war brought here. They're bringing it rhetorically here. And they would like to see the scuffles here, they think. But they're not really ready for it. There's some things you're just not ready for. I was not ready to hear that I have insulin resistance. That came as a shock to me. It's a tiny little bit, but it just brought to mind my grandpa who got type 2 diabetes late in life. Grandpa was pretty slim. I mean, as an older guy, he was active. He didn't exercise. He walked a lot every day. We went over to his house near Christmas once. There was big, big snow in Spokane. It was like 3 feet of snow on his roof. And the man was like 72 years old and was on top of his roof sweeping it off. My dad wigged and said, get up there and get your grandpa down and sweep that roof. 72. So he was always very, very active. But yeah, he got type 2 diabetes. And then I remember visiting him when he was having, getting dialysis. And that was really hard. And then it led to dementia, et cetera. I don't want any of that. So I am maniacal about what I eat. I track every macronutrient, every ounce of water. Somewhere this morning around 7:15, I'd had 180 ounces of water. So I'm tracking all this. And I'm taking a step, in addition to more fiber, more plants, I use berberine breakthrough. So this is a natural supplement. I take 2 tablets before each meal. And what it does is it bounces out my blood sugar. It helps solve or get under control insulin response. It helps enhance carbohydrate metabolism. It balances hormones and stress responses. And it increases blood sugar uptake into the muscles instead of the fat cells. When it's in the muscles, it's used for movement and exercise, etc. It is a way to make sure I do not walk further down the path of type 2 diabetes. If this is in your family at all, you might have it. You might not know it. Friends of mine in CrossFit have it, and they didn't know it. Go to boboptimizers.com/Todd. Use promo code Todd to get 10% off berberine breakthrough. Maximize your metabolism today. Get off that path to type 2 diabetes. It is boboptimizers.com/Todd, promo code Todd, and it's called berberine breakthrough. There are people in our country who apparently want to see the war brought here. This is about the same time as President Trump allowed these bombs to go forward, directed that operation. We saw people marching with Iranian flags in the United States and outside the White House. Now, to my knowledge, Israel hasn't announced that they want to destroy America, that they want to end all Muslim people, but the Iranian government has announced that they want to end all Jewish people, destroy the state of Israel, and then come for us. To my knowledge, the country of Israel does not drop people off rooftops, does not end people's lives or unalive them in mass celebratory celebrations at dawn, doing this to women, not to my knowledge. Israel has its problem. Its government is corrupt. All earthly governments are corrupt because they're run by people, and people are fallen. That's always going to be the case. What gets me in this is President Trump's restraint, his willingness to call out both sides, his willingness to dramatically call out Israel like I've never seen a president do. I saw the passive-aggressive stuff with Barack Hussein Obama and others. There was the instance where Barack Hussein Obama had the premier of Israel, the president of Israel, enter through the service entrance. Do you remember that? Subtle, right? This lady has an ability to call out the truth about Iran in ways that other people do not.
Imagine being from a country where you have no human rights, the government is evil, and by no human rights, I mean you don't have the freedom to choose your religion. If you choose a different religion than Islam, you get executed. You don't have the freedom to date anyone. If you're outside and you get caught holding hands with the opposite sex, you get arrested. And then getting on social media and seeing people support the government of that country that's doing all these things to these people. Please, she said, educate yourself. President Trump is aware of the faults of both countries. He called out both countries. And it's increasingly clear to me that he's a man who does not want war. It's increasingly clear to me that social media is, in fact, a blessing in many ways, particularly for people who are from Iran, to be able to say, this is what goes on in that country. There's a reason we don't want them to have nukes, and it's because of the personality of the leadership.
Iranians to live in peace and freedom withal. It is etched in the very fabric of our ancient history and culture. Our deep bond with the Jewish people is one that dates back thousands of years and is indeed unbreakable. But beyond all, there is one certainty that must be heard by the people of the world, especially in this realm of social media confusion that we live in. That the only enemy of the peace-loving Iranian people remains the regime itself that has held the nation and its people captive for 46 years. But only through the power of the brave Iranian people will we see Iran free again and everlasting peace attained.
You will not see everlasting peace attained during this lifetime. That will not occur. That will be in the new heaven and the new earth, which is available to people who go through Jesus Christ. Because Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one gets to the Father but through him. And maybe, just maybe, as President Trump has shown this restraint, as President Trump has been willing to criticize both sides, maybe, just maybe, we have an opportunity for people to see God's face through a president, an imperfect president, who does not come to the Middle East or the Mental East with bombs raining down and troops coming in and regime change on the mind and money at the heart. Maybe, just maybe, they can see a guy who legitimately wants to see peace and speaks about it, even if it's in frustrated tones.